Excellent, excellent. Well, welcome everybody. We are so excited for you to be joining us today for the for Teach for California, Teach for Los Angeles, the Teach for whatever. We are here for you. We are excited to be engaging in a week-long professional development opportunity. We love that this is like a choose your own adventure conference. That's the whole point of this, is you pick what's going to work for you. You pick the sessions that are going to be relevant for you. They're going to help you as a professional. For those of you that are already in the field, we have a lot of offerings that are going to be great for people who are practitioners right now. For those of you that are future teachers, we have tried our best to put together a really comprehensive conference with a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different options. With that, I want to welcome everybody. My name is Renee Marshall, and I am the conference coordinator for Teach for LA. If you haven't had a chance to mute yet, if you could please mute, that would be awesome. We also want to let you know at any time, if you have a question, a comment, whatever, please feel free to put it in the chat. Our group is an incredibly collaborative group, and we're here to help you. We're here to be a resource, and we want to talk. And so please feel free to make comments in the chat, whatever, any ways that you want to communicate it with us. We appreciate it so much. So much. I'd like to tell you just for a little bit about the origin of Teach for Los Angeles. A few years ago, we were looking for an opportunity for our future students in the LA region to help them with professional development and to really have like a huge event that would really be a huge inspiration for everybody. And so under the guidance of Leah Martinez, Leah is a project director of teacher preparation at Rio Hondo College. And under the guidance of Leah Martinez, she created the concept of Teach for LA. A few years back when we first started it, we had the opportunity to run this conference face to face. And that was so exciting. It's always so wonderful when we can be together and we can have a chance to collaborate and network and be in the same space. Now, with the pandemic, we knew that that wasn't going to be the case. And at first we thought, you know, do we just wait till things kind of go back to normal and then we run a conference? Or do we go ahead and pivot in the virtual space? And I am so proud to say that Leah had the vision to know that we needed to do a pivot. And so this is actually, I hope I'm saying this right, Bobby, but I think this is our third virtual conference during the pandemic. Is that correct? It is our third virtual conference during the pandemic. And here's what happened. The most beautiful thing in the world happened. The last time we ran our conference face to face, we had 350 people participate. And that was stellar. When we ran the conference in the virtual space, we had over 1,000 people participate. And so we had no idea that by putting this conference into the virtual space, it allowed for more access to more people to reach the conference. And so I'm not sure what it's going to look like moving forward, but for this week, we've got 36 fantastic breakout sessions for you to choose from. We know that many of you are working. We know that many of you are students and in school. And so we tried our best to put different workshops from 8 a.m. in the morning till about 8 p.m. at night. And so every day that you'll see the offerings are a little bit different, but the goal was really to find, or our goal is, hopefully you can attend a couple things over the course of the week. If you're able to attend a lot of the sessions, that's fantastic. But even if you can attend 2 or 3, you are still developing as a professional, and there's huge value in whatever you can go to. Just a reminder, any of the sessions that you go to, you want to make sure you include this on your resume, because it's always good to show professional development and professional growth. And anytime you can do it for free, that's always the best kind, right? I'm hoping to see some heads going, yep, because we try to keep things free because we think that's imperative. Students and people have enough costs. And if we can find a way to not have costs put on you, we try our best to do so. So we are very proud that we are offering another free conference today. And thank you to Leah Martinez for the vision and for really making this materialize for all of us. This year, our leadership team, Yadira Ariano is now the lead of the LA Region Strong Workforce Program, and she's going to be speaking in just a few minutes. We also have Bobby Becca from El Camino College, who's part of our leadership team. We are very excited too. Megan Kaplinsky from Long Beach City College is part of our leadership team. And we are also proud to say that Leah Martinez, even though she's no longer the lead, she is still part of the leadership team, and she is still helping to guide us through all we do, and we appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Renee. Can I quickly tell you, can we mention for the students here, and I know you mentioned right now about making this free, but we also want to make sure that you understand, for those students who are here, we specifically had workshops that have credentialed teachers so that you can use those hours for your hours that are needed to complete in the class. That's in my class. And just wanted you guys to know that. So we thought about everybody, not just for it to be free, but we thought about those students who need those professional hours and those 45 hours that are needed for the class. Thank you, Renee. That's what I wanted.
Absolutely, Yadira. I'm so glad you said that. I taught Introduction to Teaching, our EDU class, our EDU 200 class, for 12 years of my career. And so one of the things that we know is right now in this virtual space, a lot of our students who are doing field work and practicum are struggling with ways to find hours to complete those requirements. And we've worked with the state to find opportunities that we could offer that would still be able to count. And so just want to let you know, for anybody who's in an EDU class, every single one of our sessions that is led by a credentialed teacher, it states that. And so I believe about half of our sessions are led by credentialed teachers. Also, I'm going to point out, we have some sessions that are specifically led by principals. We didn't say that they're credentialed teachers, but just so you know, almost every single principal has been a credentialed teacher or credentialed counselor at some point. So really, we have a lot of great, great, great offerings this week. And I'm super excited too. In just a few minutes, we're going to have our keynote coming up. And she is one of the most dynamic people you will ever meet. She's a huge resource. And she's local. For anybody who's in the LA area, Lisa Wilson does not live that far from us. She's actually just over in Menifee. And so she's a great person to collaborate with, and she's a wonderful person to learn from. But before we get to Lisa's sessions, I just want to talk to you about a few things. First of all, we have over 900 people attending Teach for LA this week. I was just telling Bobby and Yadira, since midnight last night, I have had 46 people email me to ask if they can continue to join the conference. And guess what? I said yes for every single one, because this is about inclusion. This is about all of us coming together. This is about having a good time and working collaboratively. So if you have any friends or colleagues who haven't had a chance to register and they would like to be involved in Teach for LA, in just a moment, I will put my email in the chat. My name is Renee Marshall again, and please feel free to have any friends or colleagues email me and I will join them as soon as I possibly can, or I will have them join the conference as soon as possible. I do want to point out a couple exciting things that are also happening this week. First of all, tonight, I'm leading a panel of newer teachers. They're not brand new, but they've been teaching anywhere from 3 to about 8 years. And they're from a variety of different age groups and a variety of different styles of schools, including traditional public schools, but also some charter schools. That's happening tonight at 7 o'clock. I'm also excited to say that later today, there's also a teacher panel of special education teachers and leaders focusing on what can we do to really help our students in special ed get all the resources possible to make sure they have exactly what they need for their education journey. I'm excited to say that later this week, we've got all sorts of different sessions, including another panel coming up. And this one, I'm really excited for this one. It's on Wednesday night and it's called My Latina Tribe. And it's a group of 4 Latina administrators who are principals and assistant principals talking about how they've banded together to have professional support as they are all elevating in the field of education. They're strategically finding ways to elevate each other. And so I'm excited for that session. It should be outstanding. There's so many good things happening. I also want to point out that this Friday, we have got a networking session at the very tail end of the week from 10 until 12. We're going to have a robust activity session. We're going to have another keynote speaker. We're going to have a networking session where you have the chance to talk to some leaders in education in an informal space. So you can ask any questions you have. You can just take it as an opportunity to network and get your name out there, whatever works for you. And then we also are going to have a student panel on Friday. And the student panel on Friday is specifically Latina female community college students sharing their experience in our community college system. And then we're going to wrap up the conference on Friday at probably about 11:30, doing some giveaways. Just yesterday, for those of you who don't know the store, Google the store Lakeshore. It's about 45 minutes from where I live. Yesterday, I went to Lakeshore and spent hundreds of dollars to get awesome things that we can basically give away on Friday. And so I'm hoping that you'll be involved in that. I also want to say, I just want to give a shout out to all of the presenters that contributed money so that way we could buy giveaway items for Friday. Because the reality is we cannot use our funding from our campuses or our funding from our programs to do that. And so people literally reached in their pocket, and we had presenters donate everything from $25 to $150 in order to buy stuff for you. Okay, so, and the whole idea is we try to get fantastic things that you will be able to start your classroom with, okay? But I always try and get practical things as well, that if, in case you're not in a classroom yet, maybe you're working, maybe you have a child or you're working with some kids, they'll be all good things. So anyways, couple last minute things before we move on. Zoom session links are sent out daily. So everybody who's here received your link on Sunday. For your Tuesday links, I will send them later today. This is 100% for security. Well, actually not 100%, primarily for security reasons. But the other reason why we're doing it this way is because it keeps the conference cost low. We could have done a secure platform that would have cost us about $4,000 a day to run the conference. So instead of taking $20,000 to do that, what we're doing is we're going to keep that money for programming so we can keep running things this year for everybody and offer lots of workshops. But though, you know, the Zooms, it'll be a little bit more of a hassle. You just have to wait every day to get them. I have them all already, I promise you. And so just know that later today, I will be sending out the Tuesday links. Tomorrow, I'll send out Wednesday. Wednesday, I'll send out Thursday. And Thursday, I'll send out Friday. So just so everybody knows, that's what the plan is. I also want to let everyone, or just remind you, every session maxes at 300 people. There will be certain sessions offered this week that will get very close to 300. Not everything, you know, right now we have about 100 people on. Most of the time we'll probably be in, you know, maybe a 75 to 150 range. But if there's something that your heart is set on attending, you want to go early, just please show up early, log yourself in, kind of save your space, and then we'll just know for sure that you'll be able to be there with us, which is what's so important. So before we go ahead and transition to Yadira, I just want to remind you about a couple things that are happening today. First off, Lisa Wilson, I'm going to be talking about her as our keynote speaker in just a moment. Today, she's going to be focusing on the concept of reimagining education with an equity lens. Lisa's a dynamo. I can't wait for everybody to hear her. After Lisa's session, though, today, we have Rushton, who's coming in from NextEd, and he's working on simple strategies for student engagement. Now, I have never had the chance to see him speak before. He's speaking at 10 o'clock today. I've been told he's one of the best presenters, basically, in the world. And I'm somebody who presents, so when somebody says something like that, it's like, whoa. So if you have a chance, if you've got time, check out our session at 10 o'clock today. We also have some other sessions today that are fantastic. A lot of times people think that sessions are just about content. And while they absolutely are about content and what you'll learn, please remember that every single session you go to is also about networking. And so it's important to not just look at your topics, but look at who's presenting them and see if that's a person that you want to connect with. I specifically say this because one of our next sessions today is called Making Money with Substitute Teaching, and it's the Department Chair of Early Childhood Education for LA Trade Tech, Rose. Dr. Rose is going to be doing that session. So if you're interested in networking, if you're interested in learning about how do I substitute in early childhood education and what does that look like, this is the session for you to go to. Another session that I want to plug, and I'm going to plug this one hard, is it's called My Retirement System. And here's the thing. I know a lot of you are like, what are you talking about, Renee? I'm in my 20s, my 30s, my 40s. Why am I even thinking about retiring right now? Here's why. Our pension system in California for teachers is one of the best reasons to become a teacher. We don't always talk about our future and financial freedom, but it's something that we want to start talking about with beginning teachers and teachers in general as soon as possible. I'm currently 47 years old. And when I was an elementary school teacher and when I was a college professor, so in 2 different education systems at multiple schools, I was told that I was too young to go to retirement meetings. And so I listened to my colleagues. But the reality is that's not the truth anymore. We want people to know about financial freedom and how you get financial freedom as early as possible in this life. And so I highly, highly, highly suggest if you have a chance today, please check out that session called My Retirement System from CalSTRS. They're presenting that session one time this week, and we'd really love for you to be there. I also want to share just a couple other things real quickly. We've got Janice coming in from El Camino doing a session on how to build your preschool classroom. Janice is faculty at El Camino, and she's a leader in early childhood education. That will be a stellar session if you're a preschool teacher, or you're thinking about becoming a preschool teacher or going into early care. We also have quite possibly the nicest education faculty professor in the state of California presenting today. His name is Doug. He's presenting on 7 secrets of a successful teaching career. And Doug is one of the kindest people you can ever meet. And his words are powerful. His advice is powerful. I love working with Doug because he's a reminder that you can consistently be a good person in your work. You don't have to sacrifice who you are to do what you love to do. And so Doug is an inspiration. I hope you have a chance to see him later on today. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over. We also have the 2 teacher panels I mentioned earlier, so please check those out. But please know, this conference, what you get out of it is totally up to you. I know that this time of the semester is rough. I know it's exhausting. Whether you're in the classroom as a teacher or you're in the classroom as a student, this is an exhausting time of the year. And for you to be here right at this moment at 8:51 on a Monday morning shows your dedication to our field, and it shows your dedication to yourself. So thank you for investing in yourself. Thank you for investing in your future. Thank you for taking the time to be here this week. You know, it's funny because sometimes people will send me an email, go, "Oh, Renee, I'm really busy this week, so can I go next week?" No, Teach for LA happens 2 weeks a year. If you don't come this week, then maybe there'll be a chance in October. Maybe not. It all depends on funding and everything. So maximize your potential this week. If you say, for instance, there's a topic you're really interested in, but you realize you can only go for 5, or maybe not 5 minutes, but maybe you can only go for 15 minutes of the session or 30 minutes of the session, that's okay. You still show up. Because sometimes in 15 minutes, you can get a golden nugget of information that can absolutely impact your future, and it can impact your development as a teacher. So anytime you show up. That's one of the reasons why we really want the conference to be a choose your own adventure for you. You pick and choose what works for you. Every day you get the schedule with all the links, and you just kind of make it what you make it for yourself. So I challenge you to attend as many sessions as possible this week. And I challenge you on something else. And I see some of you already are doing it, and I appreciate it. I would like to challenge you this week to have your camera on anytime that you can. And I know some of you don't have camera capabilities. I'm not speaking to you. I understand if you have a technology issue and you can't be here. But I also know many people choose to keep their cameras off. And this is a networking session. This is a time where you get to meet people. We're also human. And when you're a human being and you're presenting to an entire screen of boxes of names, it is a surreal feeling. So let's humanize this experience this week. Anytime you have the chance to be on camera, join us on camera. We don't care if you're in your pajamas. We don't care if you are a parent and you've got a toddler crawling on you. We don't care if you are in the classroom and you've got a 20-minute break and you're coming into the session. We're not here to judge you. We're here to support you. And so with that, we are so excited. We want to see you this week. Teach LARC, the Teach Los Angeles Regional Collaborative, is here to support you. With that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Yadira, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Renee. And this is why I love this woman. I call her my Oprah of education. And so welcome, everybody. I'm so happy to have you here. I know some of my students are here, and I can see the chat going, but I want to echo what Renee mentioned. I want to challenge, and like I tell my students, and I know some of you guys have your cameras on, so I appreciate you, Mona, Jade, everybody that is here. I know, and like I tell you, everybody, we are human. You cannot possibly tell me otherwise. There's been a couple of instances where my son comes up to me and I'm in a serious lecture of Piaget. And so it is what it is. And so I just want you all to be comfortable. We welcome you. We're so excited to have you. Like Renee mentioned, this is a big effort. This happens once a year. And I want to specifically today, this week is very, very special. It's Teacher Appreciation Week. It is a week of where, we want to appreciate teachers. We do so much. And as an educator and as a teacher myself, I want to tell you that it is not easy. I am constantly grading. I am constantly working. I do not have a day off. I'm grading 100 times a day. It's lifetime. This is what I do. But I want to tell you that I couldn't do anything else. I am passionate about my job. I love teaching. If there's something that I was meant to do in this world, this is what it is. And my students know it because I don't get me started with some topic that I'm passionate about, because I can go off and and here we go. But anyways, with that said, I want to welcome you all this week. I want to really look into, and I want you all to think about those teachers that you've had that made a difference in you, those educators that maybe till this day you still think about them. Maybe you would have been in preschool, maybe you were in kindergarten. I know for myself, I will never forget Mr. Guerrero. He was my second grade teacher, and he was a teacher who passed me to third grade. I flunked first grade and second grade because I was a dual language student. I came from Guadalajara. I didn't know any English, and so I failed first grade. I failed second grade. Well, I failed first grade twice, and when I went to second grade with Mr. Guerrero, he was that one teacher that made a difference in my life. Until this day, until today, I still remember him. So with that in mind, I want you all to think about a professor that you've had, an educator that you've had, and we want to thank them. And so we're going to kick this off, this teacher conference, with that in mind, knowing that we appreciate our teachers, we love our teachers, we're passionate about them. For those aspiring teachers that we have right now on Zoom, and you know who you are, my class, I'm speaking to my class, I'm speaking to Dr. Barajas' class that's here as well. You are the future. You are going to be the next leaders in education. So we're so happy to have you here. We do this for you because you're going to make the difference. With that, we are going to give it over to
I'm going to introduce Lisa, but I have to just tell you guys something insane that is happening in the chat right at this minute that you cannot see. Okay, as I mentioned, I'm 47 years old. My first time I went to college, I was in my 20s, right?
Okay.
I just have one of my roommates from college message me in the chat. We have not seen each other since we're in their 20s. And she's like, hey, Renee, what's up? I don't know if you remember me. Rosalba, of course I remember you, girl. We lived together for a while. Of course I do. It's great to see you.
That's phenomenal.
Oh my gosh, I love full circle stuff. I love this kind of stuff. Oh man. Oh, I love that kind of stuff.
Oh, I love it.
I feel like crying, you know? Well, and I have to tell you, Rosalba, I ended up marrying Jeremy. We've been married almost 25 years. I started dating him when we were friends. Gosh, I love this kind of stuff. Life is so cool.
Oh my God.
It's so good to see you. Oh my gosh.
Who is this?
It's Rosalba Bravo right there.
Oh my God, no way.
On my screen.
Okay, so wait, Renee, I know Rosalba personally.
Well, then the three of us are going to have to go out after this. That's what this means. Okay.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, and that just made my day. That made my week.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Well, and I love that Yadira also was just talking about the teachers that impact us, because that is so much about what this is about. I want to also say something for those of you that are students. When you write about a teacher, let them know. When you write about a teacher that's impacted your life, let them know. My niece right now is currently in a credential program at Cal State Northridge. And I used to teach at College of the Canyons. I taught there for a long time. And one day she came back from class. She goes, the weirdest thing happened in my credential class today. And I said, what? And she goes, somebody read, they assigned to read to write about, the teacher or professor that had the biggest impact on you. And she goes, and I'm sitting there in class and people are going around reading about the teachers that impacted them. And I got to listen to people writing about my aunt. And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, it wasn't one. There was a couple that wrote essays on you. And I'm sitting in class going, do I tell them she's my aunt? But what was so cool is that she told me. And so make sure to tell your teachers that you appreciate them. When it's a teacher you do appreciate. And I also, just so you know, I'm never asking for people to appreciate every teacher. I know not every teacher is great. So don't ever sacrifice yourself first. You know what I mean? But for those teachers that are rocking it, for those that are inspiring you, that are filling you up and making you feel like this is the place to be, make sure you say something this week. And for those of you that are currently teachers, please tell your colleagues too. Please say good job to your colleagues. We need to lift each other up as much as possible right now in this world. So with that, I am so excited to introduce our keynote speaker. Oh my gosh. Lisa Wilson is one of the most dynamic women you will meet in the field of education. She is incredibly gifted. She's incredibly kind. She's brilliant. But most important, Lisa Wilson is an agent of change. She walks her talk. She's an anti-racist.
Yep.
And she is doing great things in this world to make a difference. So I'm going to read her formal. Oh, I love it. I already see people chatting about Lisa. That's great. I'm going to read her formal bio so everybody knows her background. And then Lisa will speak with us for a bit about this concept of really reimagining education with an equity-minded lens and what that looks like. So Lisa Wilson is the Director of Equity and Outreach at 0 to 3. She is the principal founder of the Coalition for Anti-Racist Education, which is called C.A.R.E. As the Director of Equity and Outreach for 0 to 3, Lisa Wilson oversees the development and implementation of equitable practices within the National Center for Early Childhood Development, Teaching, and Learning. Working closely with the Center Director and Consortium Leadership Team, Lisa ensures DTL implements a lens of equitable practices within all aspects of its work, coordinates regularly with the Office of Head Start, and operationalizes center-wide equity, C.A.R.E, and co-creation efforts, including consortium partners' work to efficiently manage the annual work plan. Lisa is the principal founder of C.A.R.E, a coalition of dynamic activists and change agents who develop curriculum and professional development learning offerings that empower professionals to fight and advocate for social justice and human rights towards an equitable and inclusive world for all people. As previous professional development coordinator for Race to the Top Early Learning Challenge pilot in Los Angeles, Lisa expanded her passion for quality programs for all children to close the opportunity gap. Lisa is the previous chair and co-chair for the Child Care and Early Education Task Force, as well as a member of Community Voices, and has worked in the field of early childhood education for over 20 years. Lisa has led 2 programs through NAEYC, NAEYC, and NAA accreditation. She also has experience working in group homes as an administrator. Lisa is an adjunct faculty member of early childhood education at Pacific Oaks University, and she's a previous adjunct at College of the Canyons and Santa Monica College. I'm also very, very proud to say Lisa's a colleague. She and I taught together at College of the Canyons. And one of my proudest moments in my entire career, one of the smartest moves I ever made was when I had the opportunity to hire Lisa to join the team at College of the Canyons. She's such a stellar, stellar individual. Lisa consults programs in the following areas: quality improvement, environment, teacher-child interactions, being a culturally responsive educator, Title 22, Title 5, grant writing, licensing preschools, licensing family cares, mindfulness education, challenging behaviors, anti-racism, DEI integration, team building. She has STEM expertise, technology integration, organizational leadership, and professional development. Lisa has a master's in education with an emphasis in multicultural curriculum and instruction. She is currently completing her dissertation for a Doctor of Education and EDD in curriculum and instruction. And today we are so blessed that Lisa is going to speak to us about this concept of reimagining education with an equity lens. Lisa's a friend, a leader, a change agent, and one of the best people that you are going to meet. Be ready to be inspired. Let's all welcome Teach for LA's keynote speaker, Lisa Wilson.
Thank you, Renee.
I had to clap, Lisa.
Yeah, I was gonna clap. Let me clap.
I love that. Yeah, I love that you clapped. That makes it feel like we're actually in person. And as you're introducing me, I'm like, this sounds like a really amazing person to know. Who is this? Anyways, as you start in this field, or if you're already in this field, sometimes we do so many things. It takes a while to really recognize how much you've done. So it's nice to have that elevation, that opportunity to be recognized and acknowledged. So thank you so much for this wonderful chance to share kind of my story and what I'm reimagining education to look like as we're during this COVID period and trying to figure out kind of who we are and why we're doing what we're doing. I think as teachers this last year, it's been quite a challenge. But those of us that have stayed in that space of inspiration, we don't just teach because we want to do great things or we feel like it's greatness, but we're teaching because we believe in inspiring people, right? And that's why I do what I do. Hi, baby. We have a little person joining the keynote today. Hi, Abigail. I see a little person next to you and I can't help but wave.
I love it when we're early childhood people, Lisa. Right there, we see a kid and we got there's a baby there. Love it.
Yeah.
Why
why else are we doing what we're doing if we're not totally engaged and authentic with it, right? So, and I'll tell you one thing about this journey with early ed. That's the one thing that is the consistent, the constant is children and the beauty that they bring and the reason why we do what we do. They're the reason that keeps me inspired to keep going because it can be really challenging, especially during this time in COVID. A lot of my colleagues and my students too at Pacific Oaks, you know, it's been challenging. It's been hard to not be able to socialize and have that kind of sought after academia experience of higher ed and what that would look like, you know, going to college. And even if you're a parent or if you're starting college, you know, maybe at a different age than what you think you should have started it, your journey is starting exactly the time it's supposed to be starting. And, you know, I really value lived experience. And I remember starting in this field when I was 18. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and I've got like a little PowerPoint to kind of keep us going. But I'm going to tell you a little bit of my story because I feel like when we share our stories, that can really inspire, you know, others. Because sometimes we think getting our education, getting our college degree is like what's really going to push us and motivate us to that next level. And like when Renee said earlier, which is, I can't tell you how important this is, but networking is one way to really reimagine education. If you don't have a LinkedIn account, you need to get a LinkedIn account and you need to network as much as possible. You need to condition your mind to congratulate people, elevate people, you know, sincerely give your kudos to people when they do well, and you're going to see your life be blessed as you start to recognize other people. This is not a solo mission. I always tell people that, you know, education and really great facilitators of education, you know, we aim to inspire other people. Therefore, we're always looking for opportunities to elevate others. And we're not just fixated on our own journey, but we're excited about everybody else's journey as well. So if you do not have LinkedIn, I encourage you to get a LinkedIn profile account and right away start following me. I have over 11,000 followers. And one of my really good friends is here today, Kim Barker, and she listened to me when I told her, get that LinkedIn profile going. And within the last 8 months, she went from, I don't know, a couple hundred followers, and now she's at 5,000. And the opportunities just keep coming. Because when you open yourself up to give 100% of yourself into this field, there's a way of everything else opening up for you. I got my job at 0 to 3 because of my LinkedIn involvement, how much I was present on LinkedIn. If you guys don't know what 0 to 3 is, you can look it up. It's a national organization connected to the federal government. And I got that by being on LinkedIn and really putting up content every day. So it's not just about how much you know, it's about who you know and your commitment to growth and your commitment to being a team player. You know, I owned my own preschools for a while and my own staffing agency. And you know what I always looked at for candidates? 2 things. I looked in people that really honestly knew how to take care of themselves, were happy people, assertive. And I wanted people that have lived experience. Education was a bonus, but I was more concerned about how well does this person take care of themselves, you know, take time for themselves, take breaks, take vacations, have hobbies. And I also wanted to know, you know, is this person really committed to sharing their story? What's their lived experience? What drives them? What makes them passionate about this work? That's what I wanted. And then education was a bonus. Oh, you have your degree? Great. But really what I wanted to know was, you know, what makes you you? What makes you uniquely you? And honestly, the next piece is, you know, how committed are you to be totally genuine and candid about your life? Are you willing to really share your story? So let me share my screen. I'm excited to be here. And part of this journey is really having that balance. If you don't have balance, it's going to be so hard for you to be really successful in this work. So you absolutely have to take breaks. And I'm talking about on a daily basis. Like, I meditate probably 3 times a day. The kind of work I do, some days I'll be in, like today, I have 7 meetings I'll be in, 7 meetings virtually. Same level of enthusiasm has to be up. Good morning, good afternoon, and you have to be committed to that type of, not like animation, but just who you are and know what you need. Get your water in, get your sunlight in. Be a person that has that balance so you can really bring it into other people. All right, so audience of one. I wrote a poem when I was about 18 years old called The Audience of One. And why this is so significant and so special for me is at 18, I really did not know what I wanted to do with my life. At 14 was my first time on a short-term missionary trip in Mexico. I had met a missionary there when I was 14. We stayed in contact, and I really wanted to move to Mexico. I wanted to move to Mexico. That's my dream. Live in this beach house I found. And then I wanted to just help people, whatever I could do, be a part of the community. Okay. Well, as we know, that didn't work out. But I do live on a ranch in Menifee, and it's hacienda style. And so it reminds me of being in Mexico. So I love the culture of Mexico, the people, just the way that people live is so different, right? It's not so stressful, right? And so at 18, I remember I was going to Azusa Pacific University at the time. I had been accepted in the Point Loma University, which is right on the beach. I couldn't afford it, so I had to take off a year because I graduated high school at 17. I had to take off a year. I worked with my dad, who owned his own construction company, still does to this day. That 6 months taught me that I never wanted to work with my hands that much. I was like, this is the most brutal work in the world. I had so much respect for my father, who came from segregated South. I mean, my dad has been through it, left the South at 15, hitchhiked his way to California. I mean, this guy is like a superhero, okay? Built himself from the ground up a business and made it happen, okay? Just this guy's amazing. But at 17, getting up at 4 a.m., going to Bakersfield from Redlands, he treated me like a worker. When we were on the construction site, I couldn't call him Dad. I had to call him Mr. Wilson. Okay, he gave me limited breaks, and I thought, this is the worst experience ever. I have to get out of this. I think my father did it intentionally. I think part of his madness was to show me that I could use my mind to do so much more. And so he worked me hard, okay? And yes, the money in construction is great, but the aches and pains were just like, I couldn't take it. So I go to Azusa Pacific University, and I major in world missions because I'm convinced I'm going to save the world. And so I come back to my parents and I tell them I'm majoring in world missions. I'm going to do short-term missionary work, and I love this. My dad said, that will never pay your bills. You have to figure out something else that you can do that's kind of like what you really want to do, but I'm telling you, it'll never, ever pay your bills. So I went back to the drawing board, as they say, right? And I've always written, I've always been a poet. So I started writing, and I wrote this poem called Audience of One. And I thought to myself, okay, what does it mean to be an audience of one? What it meant for my life at that point, it still remains the same, still constant, is that I have to be committed to teaching myself. I have to be committed to learning myself. I have to know what I want. I have to know who I am. I have to know why this information is absolutely important to get out to the masses. So that's how I teach still to this day. So anybody can call me up and say, hey, Lisa, we want you to do a presentation, let's just say on implicit bias. Okay, why do you want this presentation on implicit bias? Because we feel like that's a barrier to help students. If somebody is working from a place of unconscious bias, they may, discipline them inappropriately or, over discipline them. And we want teachers that are dedicated to seeing children, as human beings, and not as stereotype threats. Okay, so now I have a reason why I could do this presentation. So even if I know a little bit about the information, I do so much reading before I do my presentation. And I'm getting to the point. I want to teach you all something, and hopefully you'll get this, and maybe you've already learned it. But for me, it's important every time I'm asked to do something to study it to the point where I know it like the back of my hand, right? That I know it so well that I can simplify the information. And one thing I learned as I went through my academic journey is people really like to show how smart they are by using super big words. And that's called being pretentious. I have siblings that are pretentious. And they love when we get in any spaces to tell me how many books they're reading. You know how people do that? Oh, are you reading this book by this author? And you're like, no. Have you read this book by this author? No. And then they begin to give you a whole diatribe about how great the book is and everything you should love about this book and why they've chosen this book. And you're thinking, I'm thinking, I'm finishing my dissertation. I don't have time to sit here and read more books than what I'm already reading. But you might feel like that too, you know, as you're going through education, you start to have to get into college and reading all these books. You don't always have time to read for pleasure. So I realized that one of my superpowers as an educator is to simplify information to get it to the masses. I really believe that sometimes language is such a barrier and intentionally done in order to keep people where they think that they're not smart enough to get the information, to grasp the information, okay? So the one thing for me is always to be able to speak in a way where people can really understand. Plain language, we can all understand what each other is saying. This is not a time to sit here and talk about how many degrees you have and how super smart you are and how smart you sound. And all that's great. All that's wonderful, as long as we're using language to unify. And so as we talk today about the audience of one, think about what did I need as a student in a classroom? What did I need to be reassured on a daily basis? What did I need to feel seen and feel heard? When did I feel the most out of place in different classroom settings? I want you to really take the time to think about that, because you've got to think, why have I chosen to teach? The profession is not easy. It's a very challenging profession. You have to be committed to every single child in your class. You have to be committed to every family that's represented in your class, the community that you work in. So to be a teacher, to take the time to say, I want to be a teacher, I want to teach, that alone is absolutely inspirational to me. That there are over 97, well, there's 97 people in this space right now, virtually on a Monday morning. That is just absolutely amazing. I mean, honestly, you right now just did the hardest thing. You showed up. You showed up. Showing up is hard. Most people can't even show up. I'm telling you, okay? And that's the one thing we have to always be conditioned to do, is to show up. All right. So how do we get to the place where we have this equity mindset, right? For me, it's really important to look at it as every child's really unique. So I have 4 kids. We're a blended family. I got 2 older ones in their 20s, one that's 13 and one that's 8, who just brought me her laptop because she doesn't want to do virtual learning today. So that's fun, isn't it? So gotta roll with it. So every child is unique. I really believe that. My 8-year-old, she's unique. I love her. It's Monday. She's not feeling the whole virtual learning space today. After I'm done with Keynote, I'll have to check in with her and see what's going on. But that's what we do, even when you're in a classroom, even if it's a virtual setting. You got to check in with your students. You got to see what's going on with you. How come your camera's off? If there's something I can do to help support you. What I do with my students, if they miss 1 week of assignments, just 1 week, I'm emailing them. And sometimes I'll call them, you know, they're at the college level. I'll email them first because, you know, sometimes when, you know how it is, when you get a phone call and you're not expecting it, what do? You screen the call, right? It's rare we pick them up now anymore. So it's like, okay, let me go and email my student. But staying connected to your students is really important. Knowing why they're doing what they're doing, understanding maybe some barriers that might be happening in their life that will really cause them not to be totally focused on what's going on. I've noticed that the community college level or the university, you're still going to have the same thing. You're still going to have people with busy lives trying to juggle a lot of things. And we as instructors, professors, really, agents of change, we have to be committed to meeting students where they're at and providing them space, you know, in order to be able to ask questions, feel comfortable asking questions. So there's lots of ways to do that too. For me, I do a lot of emails. I even do text messaging with my students. And some people don't do that. I do that. So there's different ways instead of getting on the phone, because some people are so shy, I've noticed, that even that initial contact over the phone is a lot. And then I do open hour, every single Tuesday night. I just finished the class, but every Tuesday night I would have open hours for students just to drop in. So just think about, how do you make the connections with the student? Why do you want to do this? And every day is not going to be fun. Every day is not going to be a fun day. Just like Yadira was talking about, that you're going to be grading all the time, So you got to think to yourself, how do I give really valuable feedback that's going to help bridge my students' learning? Because written feedback is really, it's really can be challenging for most people. Most people, oh, this is great. Thanks for your submission. Okay, what else do I need to do? Tell me what else I need to focus on, where I can improve. So you have to think always, you're really talking about yourself first. What would I need and what do I like to learn? But if a student's totally different than you, that's where collaboration is really key. And you got to collaborate with other educators and figure out, what can I do in order to help every student in my room feel seen and heard and know that they can get through this. During COVID, it was one of the most challenging times ever teaching. My students were coming undone. And all I cared about was, what are you doing to take care of yourself? So for about 2 weeks, I dismissed just regular discussions. And if you've ever done online classes, you know what a blessing that is. 2 weeks of no online discussions. All I wanted to see was pictures of them taking care of themselves. And they did it, taking pictures of themselves, walking outside, sitting under a tree, whatever the case was. I wanted them to understand the most important person in their life is them, and they have to take care of themselves first and foremost. Like Renee was talking about, retirement, it's never too early to think about retirement. I started saving for retirement when I was 19 years old. It's never too soon, because I'm telling you, as a teacher, you sacrifice so much that if you're not careful, towards 20 years goes by this fast, you guys. And if you're not careful, by the time you get to the end of your 20 years and you haven't planned for retirement, you're going to go, what the heck was I thinking? Because I'm going to tell you one thing, change is constant. Change is constant. Problems will always be here. Students will always need help. I'm hoping we can do it better and it'll get better, but you got to commit to yourself first and foremost. And I think that's one of the things our profession is struggling with, and why we have such high turnover, is our teachers do not feel empowered to say, I need a break. And so in this new opportunity, reimagining education is also self-care. Like, that's your new superpower. You need to be able to take care of yourself, okay? Because that's the most important thing. That's what's really going to get our students connected. That's what's going to inspire our students, okay? I don't know about you guys, but I remember teachers that they would have 4 or 5 cups of coffee, could barely move around, were stressed out most of the time. That was nothing I was aspiring to be like, okay? So if you recognize, man, this is kind of my life and I'm devoting so much energy in one area of my life, but I'm not thinking about my health and my well-being, you got to start thinking differently. And I'm telling you from experience, because I didn't do that. I did not practice self-care like I needed to. Working 5, 6 different consulting gigs, trying to be everywhere at one time to help people, it just doesn't work. You don't even end up burning out. A person like me, you just end up going, why am I making myself crazy like this? And you kind of get a little bit more balance. So you got to think about what brings you here, what brings you to the field, why you want to do what you're doing. You have to really have a reason. And I'm going to tell you why your why is so important. I'm going to tell you why your why is so important. Your why is so important because you're going to get discouraged. Hands down, you're going to get discouraged. I know, even like, what? No, I won't. I'll be part of teacher networking groups. And look, Teach for LA will keep me motivated. No, it won't. You have to know your why. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing. You have to have your own vision. You have to have your own pedagogy, your own philosophy for teaching, because it doesn't matter what organization you go to, you're not going to see eye to eye on everything. Organizations are comprised of people, not brick and mortar. Think about that. The people that you work with are the organization. If you're not vibing with people that you work with, you're probably not going to last long. So figure out the people you work with. We all should sit back now, especially, and look at, we think about buildings. I know I did when I was, coming up, right? You think about working in like a building. Oh, I want to be on Capitol Hill or whatever, whatever you esteem for, okay? I love at the federal level being a part of policy and making like those type of changes. But whatever you're aspiring to be, you have to think to yourself, what brought me here is what's really going to keep you here. But if you don't know what brought you here and you're just doing it because you feel like, well, maybe your family's a family of educators, or maybe you're like, it works kind of with my schedule a little bit because I'm a parent and summers are off. Or, I mean, who knows what your why is? There could be all kinds, and there's nothing wrong with having those reasons too. But I'm going to tell you, if you're not committed to the audience of one, and I'm going to tell you, if you're not committed to that individual instruction, you're not going to last in education. You got to have a real reason why you're doing this. It has to be so pivotal in your mind. What is making me a teacher? Why do I want to be here? Why do I feel like this is so necessary for my life? And this is like my calling. And if you're like, I'm listening to Lisa talk right now, I don't even feel that strong about teaching, then we need to have a conversation. Okay. Because you really need to think to yourself, why do I want to do this? All right. So my brother teaches in China. He's been there for 12 years. He loves it in China. When he was here living with me in Los Angeles, he was going to Chapman University. He has a bachelor's degree in math and another bachelor's degree in, screenwriting. And he didn't know what he wanted to do, okay? But he knew one thing. He didn't want to be in the United States. Okay, what do you want to do? I want to go to China. Who do you know in China? One of my friends 2 years ago taught there and says it's great. Anyways, we buy him a one-way ticket, my twin sister and I. He hops on a plane 12 years later, speaks fluent Chinese, teaches math to children that are, over there, and married Chinese woman, and he's very happy, okay? I couldn't even get him on the path to teaching here. Talking about teaching here was like, what? But teaching in China, that made sense for him, and now he's very happy, okay? So you got to start thinking, what do I envision for my life? Where do I want to go? Do I like to travel? Maybe I do want to go to another country and teach. That sounds like something exciting. There's a way to mix teaching with every other passion you have. That's why I asked, what's your hobbies? What do you enjoy doing? There's ways to teach. I taught at a program for about 4 years called the Child Educational Center, and it's such a wonderful program. They have an outdoor classroom experience. So all of our teaching, most of it was outdoors. Wonderful experience. So there's all kinds of different opportunities in this teaching field that a degree in teaching will provide for you, afford for you opportunities to do advocacy work. If you're like, hey, I really like politics and I want to be a part of that, guess what? There's a job for you. If you're like, I kind of like politics, I kind of like that whole idea of being involved in that level, there's a ton of opportunities for you, especially even right now. You can even do advocacy work in the Biden-Harris administration. There's volunteer opportunities, virtual opportunities to be a part of the Biden-Harris administration. If you're like, what? I don't know about that, you're going to email me and I'm going to send you information. And that's why you need to get on LinkedIn. You need to be networking virtually because it's all about the networking. All right. Potential. Got to think, what is potential? Everybody always talks about potential as if it's something we can't put our hands on, but it really is. With students, you need to know what their potential is, okay? Because that's going to help you understand what's my level of engagement. If I know where my students' potential's at, and potential is just the opportunity for capacity to grow in an area, right? Then I can individualize how I work with this student. It's that simple. So, okay, I'm going to look at my student's potential. I'm going to observe the student, right? So let's say you decide, okay, I want to be an early ed. I love 3-year-olds. I do too. They're amazing because 3-year-olds all think that they know everything, but they still have the baby voice and the little big tummies because they are little big tummies, and their neck starts to come in because toddlers, how they don't have a neck, they're all looking like football players. And so about 3 years old, they think they're just it. They can potty on their own and they're so cute the way they talk, right? The 3-year-old.
You got me laughing. I'm like, I was just talking about this in my class. Like, how do 2-year-olds look?
Oh, I love everything about their bodies. The 2-year-old body, the no neck, the big tummy, the waddling,
the big head.
The big head. It's a beautiful thing. And they grow so fast. I mean, honestly, like I've got parents last week, Lisa, my child was accepted into Penn State. And I'm like, how? I just remember changing their diapers. How'd that happen? That's another thing too about social media and getting on there. You can connect with your parents. And you can see where the children are growing and who they're becoming. And it's an amazing thing to watch children grow up and you had some kind of hand in it. That to me is what's so special about early childhood education. You get to see it. I've got kids from when I was 18, I taught school age at a kinder care. And now people are married with on their third child or whatever, you know, and it's just like, what? How are you this old and I'm still looking this great? So, so what is your commitment level for your students? You got to think, you know, my commitment level is really high for my students. I'll spend that extra time talking to them. I'll spend that extra time meeting with them, showing them how to put a resume together. If they're interested in a position and I know somebody, making a phone call and making sure that they know that I know that person. All that stuff is really important, being connected to community. Trust me, when it comes to jobs and opportunities, it's all about your personal outreach and really your personality. If you're a person that has a good personality, it's not even about being easygoing, but you really just accept people for who they are. You really don't get angry easily. You know, you're trying to always be in that kind of like system 2 type of thinking where you're more measured, you respond, you're not reactive. You're a keeper. That's what people look for. They look for people that are solution oriented, they're not reactive, and they stay focused on their work. And they stay focused on their work. And instead of talking about people, they're talking about great ideas, right? So that's another thing too to think about. You got to always be thinking about what are some great ideas I have, and let's operationalize these great ideas, because all of us can talk about people. And once you get into any kind of setting, you're going to be a person that either is going to talk about people or you're going to be about your business. And that's as simple as it gets. There's no in between. And so talking about people in a negative way will definitely 100% cripple your opportunities in this field. It's a small world, and you're not going to get along with everyone. And sometimes you're going to move from one place to another. But I can honestly say, like, almost for the last almost 25 years, I've kept people in my life and plugged them into other things I've done, and they've plugged me into other things they're doing, but we just don't work at the same job anymore. Doesn't mean that I don't love and respect them and have such admiration for them. So keep in mind, you know, too, it's not about just building a reputation in one place. It's just about being a genuinely authentic, kind, loving person, and that'll carry on in other places. Okay. So equity, here's a simple definition that I came up with that I feel like kind of encapsulates what I feel like is equity when I'm talking about how do I reimagine education, right? I'm going to provide, Lisa Wilson, I'm going to be committed to providing spaces, providing resources, providing opportunities. If I'm in a position of power to level someone up, I'm going to do it. I'm going to provide opportunities to ensure each person is able to reach their highest life potential, not just learning potential, your full life potential. And so that's why I was so focused on C.A.R.E. So C.A.R.E. is a networking collective, and anybody could be a part of C.A.R.E. It's antiracismed.org, and I think Renee put it in the chat earlier. But the purpose for C.A.R.E. was to bring everybody together. Educators, really, it was for educators last year on the heels of the social unrest, right? And in the midst of us being quarantined, I wanted a space for educators to come and just ask questions, because I felt like, especially our non-Black people of color and white educators were having a very challenging time being in spaces with students that are Black, because of how challenging it was to talk about racism when we haven't been able to really talk about racism in the last couple of years, right? Because it's just different administration. And so that's why C.A.R.E. was originally founded. And then once we got in the space, we recognized, man, educators need tools. Educators have the potential to be anti-racist educators, but they need tools. So you know what we should do? We should make a course. So now we have a free course called The Experience on how to be an anti-racist. It's totally free. It takes about a year to complete. It's asynchronous, and there's no grading. It's all personal development. So if you're like, oh, I want to get my hands on that, then you can email me and I'll pop you in the course. And the nice part is too, is there's thousands of resources that we put together, of just free articles, different books, documentaries, anything to help get your mind where you understand the history and the impact of racism has created barriers for students of color. The impact and what racism has done has created barriers for white people to be able to communicate with students of color. And that's hard. We're in a hard space right now. We are in a very trying time right now, but we're going to get through it. Okay. And when people ask me, well, how are we going to get through it? Number one, you work on kindness every day. See right there, that little woke, working on kindness every day. It's that simple. I'm going to enter into my day with gratitude, and I'm going to work on being a kind and loving person. That's it. If we can practice humanity at that level, okay, what would I want in my life? What do I need every day? I got to get up, take a shower, get some fresh air. I'm like a diva, I feel sometimes. I need all this stuff. Okay. And I'm thinking other people don't even have half of what I have. And they're doing even better than I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Because there's something that pushes us, you know, it's that invisible kind of push of, I feel like, of our ancestors. We got to prove ourselves, right? We have to live in this. If you look at ancestral mathematics, it took over 4,000 people for each one of us to exist. Let that sink in.
Please
It took over 4,000 people for each one of us to exist. So for me, 4,000 lives, over 4,000 lives for me to exist. That's ancestral mathematics. I take it so seriously. And in Native communities, tribal communities, they talk about what I'm doing right now. I have to think about the impact for 7 generations from now. Imagine if we lived our life like that, right? That, okay, I'm not just living this life and getting this degree for me. I'm getting it for 7 generations from now. And I have to stay highly motivated. And I have to be if I could just be a little bit more better positioned, wealth-wise, education-wise, you know, economically, right? Social and economically. I could just be a little bit better positioned than my parents. Then that'll inspire the next generation. It's not about you being like, oh, I'm going to be Bill Gates, you know? No, just a little bit, just a little bit. Don't stress yourself so much that, oh, I got to solve all the world problems. No, there's power in the collective. Stop thinking it's about you, one person, right? It's about all of us. On a collective, we can do so much more. Every single person here is important and necessary to move towards really advancing equity and what it looks like. Every student should have access to what? Food, shelter, Wi-Fi, clean water. We go, oh, that's simple, right? It should be in America, but it's not. So we have to make sure basic needs are always met. You have to go, do I have all my protective factors met? 9 times out of 10 teachers don't. 9 times out of 10 teachers do not have our own protective factors met. We are experiencing food insecurity. We are worried about paying bills. We do not have, you know, we're going, is our car going to get repossessed? Because you're not making a lot of money. So you got to think to yourself, everybody here today, your commitment is to get on a financial literacy plan. If you're like, I don't even know where to start, I have a free course for that. So listen, I learned the hard way. I have a free course for you. If you're like, I really want to learn the budget, I got a course for you. So you can email me, okay? Financial literacy is so important for teachers because you don't make a lot of money. And listen, if you're a person that likes all the new stuff, I'm just speak real to you. You got to have name brand this, name brand that, you know, go here and go there. You really got to get on a budget. You really got to get on a budget. You can't take out credit cards. It's going to catch up to you. And believe me, it'll interfere with you as an educator. Trust me, when you have debt, you won't be as free in your mind to be creative. So then you can't really co-create with your students. And that is where I think education is struggling, because we don't give space for our students' voices. We need our students to tell us, hey, what's working? What's not working? What would you like to see more of? They need to co-create with us. So my students at PO, what did you think about this first assignment? And they'll be honest, didn't like it, too much busy work. I want to know more about this. All right, let me individualize it. I'm a handful of professors that does that. And I recognize that, but I'm conditioned to want to do it because I remember busy work. I remember how frustrating it was, but busy work is necessary too, because when you get on a job, sometimes you're going to have that mundane work to do, paperwork, and you got to figure out how to do it with a little bit of joy. Okay. So there's my definition on equity. And then how do we stay inspired? Because this is the thing, we've been talking about it throughout. Oh, look at that. I've got some little drawings on my PowerPoint. I don't know how that happened. But anyway, so we have to think about, how do we stay inspired? How do we remain inspired? Well, just look around. I put a couple of things there. Practice. Teaching is practice. So teaching is practice. And that's the thing. When you are flexible enough to go, I'm going to try this out and I'm going to see what works and what doesn't work. Every lesson plan, every activity you do with children or students, depending on what age you're going to go in, you always have to have that mindset that this is just a pilot. This is trial and error. I'm going to try this out. I'm going to be this open-minded. I'm going to see how it does. And you know what? Maybe it won't be the best thing and you have to adjust, but just be willing to adjust and adjust quickly. That's another thing. That's another superpower that I encourage you to get, okay, is the ability to be flexible, forgiving, and to adjust quickly to meet your students' needs. You have to be connected to your community. You have to know, man, what does my community offer for students? A lot of times people do not know how to connect the dots, and you want to kind of start everything all over. When you have a great idea, this is what I learned. When I have great ideas, I think, oh man, this is the best idea ever. I just Google it and see, is somebody else doing this already? Because if they're doing it, I'm just going to go along with what they're doing, or I'm just going to tell other people about this, this community of practice or this organization because they're already doing it. So why reinvent the wheel? And I'll even attend a webinar that the person or the organization's doing to make sure it's something I can stand by and I can refer it to people. So just think about, education is about, getting connected to community. It's also about practice, be flexible. It's about discipline. You have to do it every day. Every day I'm going to read. Every single day. I'm reading for pleasure, but I'm also going to read to make sure that I'm highly skilled at what I'm doing. I'm going to stay on top of, where education is going. Anybody here on Clubhouse? Raise your hand if you're on Clubhouse. If you're not on Clubhouse and you're like, I don't know what that is. Well, you need to be on Clubhouse. Clubhouse is so good. Kim raises her hand. Kim, I know you're on Clubhouse because I invited you and you accepted, and we're always in the spaces. You gotta love Kim. She's like, I just love her so much. So, so if you're not in Clubhouse and you want to get in Clubhouse, you can also email me. I have 7 invites. This is the thing though.
I want to be invited.
Okay, I'm gonna invite you. This is the thing about Clubhouse. It's drop-in audio. And so what you're doing is you're getting an opportunity to sit in a space and listen to learn. What? You're not listening to teach, you're listening to learn. So you get in a space, there's like 500 people in this virtual space. There's no camera, just drop in audio. It is the coolest thing in the world. Like today I attended a room that said, is white supremacy really that bad? And I thought, I gotta be in this space. Let me get in here right now, boom. And I hopped in that virtual room, 500 people. The conversation was amazing from both sides. You had white nationalists that were in the room, and you had people of color, you had allies in there that were speaking up. But gosh, you guys, talk about such an incredibly rich and lively discussion. Why am I bringing that up? Because that will help you in the classroom. Students are going to bring things in. And I'm going to tell you one thing too. Most people learn by what? Watching social media, scrolling. You have to be connected to social media like that to be a really effective educator. You have to know what students are looking at and why it's important, because they're going to, honestly, if you can get in their world, they're going to listen to you. So I remember I was teaching at a high school, Santa Monica High. I was teaching child development there. I had agreed to do the 4 classes so students could get their little certificate by the time they graduated high school. And so it was a dual enrollment situation, and I absolutely loved it. I loved it. And it was so funny because my chair at the time was like, so we got this great opportunity for you. They always frame it that way when you're talking about high school students. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. Trust me, it'll be great. And I'm like, I'll try it out. Anyway, I get in there and I love it. But I guess other people wouldn't take these classes because high school students sometimes aren't as committed, and that kind of thing. But anyways, I loved it. But one day they were talking about 13 reasons. And I'm going, what is 13 reasons? I don't know if you guys saw that series on Netflix. Okay. So they're talking about it like my grandmother used to talk about her soap operas. My grandmother would talk about these soap operas like, oh, child, Teddy did it to her and I just can't believe it. And I'm like, Grandma, who's Teddy? What happened? She's like, right there on General Hospital. Like, what? Grandma, I think you're talking about somebody we know for real. So what happens with these kids is they get involved in these series and it becomes part of their identity. They start to really identify and relate with these characters. And so anyways, if you know about 13 reasons, you know that the girl, she commits suicide. I mean, it's a terrible thing, but it's also kind of in a way, kind of glorifying it a little bit, in a way. And so I decided that weekend, I'm going to watch this entire first season. So I have something to talk to these kids about. So I watched the whole first season. I go back in Monday morning and they're talking about 13 reasons again. And I said, yeah, isn't it something to actually think that, I mean, what a fantasy to think that you go away, you pass away, now you get to, from like some celestial place, watch people read your notes to them. None of that's real, just so you know. You won't be in that kind of space where you can watch people reading your notes if you decide to commit suicide. And you could see some of these kids, they start to have like, what? That's true. Like they really were having these epiphanies, like, oh my gosh, we didn't really think of it that way, because it was kind of like, in a way, you know, kind of glorifying, you know, suicide a little bit. And so we got this really great, rich conversation about attachment theory and why some children don't feel attached. And they started to really share about their life. Crying, one student crying. I had 30 students in that class. And my department chair would go, what are you doing to get them to stay? Because it was all about, let me meet you where you're at. Why are you so connected to 13 reasons? I don't feel seen at home. Oh, I'm adopted. You know, my parents are always gone. I don't have anybody to go home and talk to. Yeah, we're wealthy, but there's nobody when I get home. Sometimes my nanny. Every student had a story as to why that 13 reasons was resonating with them. And I needed to know how I could take what we were learning in class and make that connection. So let me see if there's that calling there for me. You know, let me see if you guys connect to this, that you just need, that attachment's not there. And you need to feel seen and you need to feel heard. And so it's not there. So it was a powerful thing. And all it was me watching a show and being able to have a really, really good dialogue with my students, because I care about them. I care about what they're putting into their mind. I care about what they're putting into their spirit and why they're feeling so connected to this. And so it was a nice opportunity for us to talk. Never forget that justice is what love looks like in public. That's one of my favorite quotes from Cornel West, because I feel like, you know, justice is one of these terms that's kind of been thrown around. Justice is equity. That's what justice is. Giving everyone the resources and opportunities that they need to reach their highest life potential. That's what justice is. And when we do it and we forget, when we forget about doing that for our students, we really have done a disservice. We really need to be the ones that are fighting on behalf of our students. That's why I tell everybody that I work with, come in contact with, you have to take time for yourself. You absolutely have to, on the weekends, enjoy yourself, take time for yourself, because this is an emotionally draining, if you're doing it really well, career, and you have to learn how to reset, regroup, and get your own bucket filled, if you will. So anyways, thank you, everyone. I've appreciated and loved being with you today. I did put up my email address and the website. I don't know if, do you guys, there's no time for Q&A, right? I don't know if any Q&A came in, but I know it's a keynote setting, but we are virtual. I didn't know if anybody had a question.
Lisa, I see a couple hands, like there,
Yeah.
people put hands up. So we're supposed to wrap at 10. Do you mind going for maybe like taking Q&A for another like 5 to 6? Is that cool?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Lisa.
Renee and Lisa, just very quickly, just because I gotta do some housekeeping on my end for the students. But for those students, I'm gonna log back into my class to let you all go. Thank you all for being here. And then, but for those of you who are still here, I don't want to stop listening to Lisa. She's phenomenal, as you guys can see. And you know, she's resonating on everything that I preach in class. They're probably, Lisa, thinking like, really, Ms. Arellano, you brought me to another you're another you. But thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just going to do that very quick housekeeping and then I'll be right back, Renee.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to stop sharing. Hopefully people have had time to put this down, write this down, but I'll put it in the chat too. But if
there was also a question about if you're willing to share a slide deck, and I didn't want to speak on your behalf. So yeah, let us know your thoughts.
Oh yeah, I can share it. There's not much to it, but if you really want it, I'll share it with you. Just, I can, what should I do, Renee? Give it to you and then you can
just shoot it to me and then I can send it out to everybody who, one of the nice things with this Zoom is people logged in with their emails to this session directly. So we should be able to communicate with them easily to send it out. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so let's see who has some questions here. I'm going to scroll down with my handy little scroll, also known as a mouse.
If somebody's got a question, you can also unmute and ask it, or you can ask it in the chat, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, hi.
how we can, do we have to attend all the meetings until 8 p.m. and then how we can get the certificate for our instructor to show her that we.
Absolutely. I will make sure that I cover that as soon as Lisa's done with her keynote. That is one of the first things I have to talk to everybody about. Okay. And also, just, you asked if you have to attend everything. Absolutely not. You attend whatever works for you at the conference and whatever your interest is. You do not have to attend everything. We're doing certificates session by session, so that way you can get the credit for any of the sessions you attend. So Lisa, I'll hand it back to you. Any questions for Lisa?
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I have
Thanks,
a
Renee.
question.
Yes.
Hi, I have a question. I'm a little older now, going back to college. I was a stay-at-home mom for a few years, and I decided to go back and finish what I wanted to do, which is teaching. How old is too old to go back to be a teacher, though? Because you guys were talking about like retirement, and I'm going to be 40 this year, and I have a 2-year-old, and early back in school. And so I've always worked in education. I've been a program coordinator for like, I don't know, 12 years. I've worked with kids a lot, and so I love it. I know it's my passion, but I needed to raise my children first. And so what do you think about going back to school at such a old, well, I mean, 40 for me is a little older.
Esmeralda, is that who was asking the question?
Yes. Hi.
Hi, Esmeralda. I hear your little sweet baby in the background. I love that. How old is too old? When you're dead and gone. So you're the right age. So stay encouraged and don't get discouraged by it. You can do it, baby girl. Look, we're all in a journey. I mean, I'm just telling you, we're all in a journey, so you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Your lived experience, and then you have your education, you're just going to be dynamite. I'm telling you. I think the hardest part about teaching is not having lived experience, and the pressure for students to, okay, now you're done with high school. Now you got to pick a profession. Now you got to be a teacher. Teach what? You don't even know what you like and don't like. Get out and travel and get to know other people. Like, come on. So no, it's okay. Whatever age you start at. So stay encouraged, Esmeralda.
Lisa, I
Thank
one
you so much.
time had a student in teacher preparation at College of the Canyons that began at 58 years old. And she had spent her life volunteering in churches and volunteering in classrooms, and she just never had the chance to get the degree that she desired. And so I'm very, very proud to say that Patsy began teaching. She decided to go to Arizona, and she had her credential and started teaching at 60.
Yeah.
And she has a great career right now.
Yeah, any age. And I think the one thing, Alberto, I see you, you're next. But I think the one thing too that's really important to recognize is that it all has to do with, you want to inspire people around you. How much do you have to pour into your students? And if you have lived experience, you're going to have a lot to pour into your students. People have a lot of theory. You might be rooted in theory, but no application. So you might have a lot of knowledge, but no wisdom. Wisdom's applied knowledge. And the only way you get wisdom is by living. Okay, baby, you got to live. If you don't live, you won't know how to relate to people, and people won't want to hear you. Your students, it won't land. You know how many people I've had that I've worked with in different colleges, and they've had zero teaching experience? Do you think their students are asking them for help? No, they don't have any teaching experience. They did their student teaching hours. That's all they did. They never went a preschool setting. They've never owned a business. And so how can you really help students that are wanting to maybe own their own preschool one day, or whatever the case is? I can help students with that because I've done that. I've owned several businesses. I've closed several businesses. I've started several businesses. I'm an entrepreneur too. So there's a lot of things that you can do with this degree. Trust me when I tell you, I'm at the national level, and you can work on Capitol Hill. You could be a lobbyist. You could do so much stuff. So it doesn't matter when you start. It just matters that you start. Alberto, what's your question or comment or reflection? Your contribution, Alberto. Oh, you're on mute. It's okay. I did it earlier today at another meeting.
My bad. I would just like to ask you, that email that was at the last slide of your presentation, would we email you if we would like to participate in some, I guess, these organizations that you mentioned before, such as the financial literacy course and the Zoom meeting regarding anti-racism?
Yeah, You can email me and I can pop you in those courses.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alberto. It looks like there's some things happening in chat. So Dr. Rose is inviting everyone to LATTC, it looks like, for lots of wonderful opportunities.
Yes, I'm so excited that I met you, Lisa, in person, online, but I want to emphasize at LA Trade Tech, we have a guy who came to speak to us. He has developed the very first machine that picks strawberries with robots. We have computer programming classes in the business pathway. This is the new language of the young people, coding. Coding will get you a job of 100K a year. So please come see me. I will hook you up with these people that are doing well. You know, you start slowly and you build yourself. We have fashion entrepreneurs. We have auto entrepreneurs. We have so many offerings in our campus at LA Trade Tech. And I would love to support each one of you with your dreams. Come see me. Renee knows me. Lisa knows me. A lot of the people know me here. I'll be teaching, my course after this is making money through substitute teaching. This is for teachers who want to make more money. Why not? Let's give the teachers money. That's what I'm saying. Okay, enough said.
What time your meeting?
It's at 11.
11, okay.
Yes, and I brought somebody who can hire you. That's the thing. You know, I want you to be hired. I want you to make money now. You don't have to have child development units because we'll start you where you are. But the most important thing is children need you. And I have fathers in my classes. They on the entrepreneur, they doing business, they come take child development 1, growth and development. Because fathers, everybody needs this course. Policemen, judges, everybody. Children today, and I have tears in my eyes, need us.
Yeah.
They need us more than ever before. COVID has completely changed the way things are happening for children. So join us because it's a movement called children in this nation. They're crying for us. And a nation that neglects its children is a nation in great danger because children are our future. Whether you want to admit it or not, we need to invest in them. And each one of us has a responsibility. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Dr. Rose. So beautiful, your words, because I know it's real and it's not just words. So it's what you live by. And, but I can't stress enough about economic integration into your life. I just have to tell you. And so if you are a person that has had racism has created barriers for your life, I was just going to put it like that. And maybe you're belong to a group of people who have been historically marginalized. You have to recognize that economic integration is the first thing you need to be thinking about. Education is important, and yes, you need to do it, but do not go in debt getting your education because you already have barriers. And you have to have a way that you're going to pay back if you do loans and that kind of thing. So let's see, one other person, I have time for one more question. It's Madeline. Am I saying your name correctly, Madeline?
No, actually, no one says my name right, so you actually got it right.
Look at that! All right.
So I just have a question. In order to get our certificate, do we have to attend at least one session every single day until the 7th? I'm just curious.
Lisa, are you cool if I take it at this point and get into a little bit of housekeeping?
Take it at this point. Thank you, everybody, so much for letting me come, and have a wonderful rest of your conference. Thank
Lisa,
you.
You're awesome. Thanks for always being a collaborator, a partner, a change agent, and a friend.
Thank you, of course.
I'll probably text you later today. Okay. Love you, Lisa.
Okay. Sounds good. Bye, everybody.
Isn't she fantastic? Okay. Here's the best thing with Lisa Wilson. You can have access to her every single week. She literally does live streams every single week on topics related to equity and education. She has a radio show. She has all sorts of ways that you can reach out. So if you're on LinkedIn, I put her connection in LinkedIn, find her there. If you're on Facebook, find her there. Wherever you need to find Lisa. Also, you want to check out the Coalition for Anti-Racist Education. The C.A.R.E group is a fantastic group, and it may be one that you want to be involved in. So I love that people are asking some questions about housekeeping because that's exactly where we need to go next. I also want to do a shout out to the parents who are holding their babies while they are on this professional development right now. That's absolutely, we are kid first. I see you, little man. I see you, little man. Thanks for being here with mama right now. I'm waving to you. Hi, bud. Hi, I see you. I look at that smile. I love it. I see you right now, buddy. But I appreciate everybody being here today. In terms of housekeeping, we are doing certificates session by session. That's why when you go into a session, it's not just a straight link. You go to that link and then it says, tell me your name, your email, because that's how we're going to be able to get certificates to you. So we will see if anybody's interested, if you want one. If you have any issues with certificates, shoot me a message. I'll put my email in the chat right now. And so they will be session by session, but I need to be honest with everybody. Like right now, we are in our session. I go through sessions till 8 p.m. tonight. I'm the originator of your certificates. It's going to take a couple days to get certificates for this session. You will get it, but it's going to take a little bit of time. So please be patient with me. Make sure you keep my email. If you have any issues, you can email me at any time and I will try my best to help you. A couple other housekeeping reminders. Please do not share the Zoom links that we are sending to you. We need every single person registered and we need their information. This goes back to our team. We were on a statewide call earlier this year and we were Zoom bombed and it was scary. It was derogatory. And I got to be honest with you. I can't even believe how I felt after it happened. You feel violated and we're trying to avoid that. So please keep your Zoom links to yourselves. But if you have any friends or colleagues who want to join, have them email me. We are totally inclusive and there is space for everyone. Okay, let me check. Couple other quick reminders. If any of your presenters over the next 5 days ask you to introduce yourselves in the chat, please make sure you do. Put your first name and your last name and the school you're affiliated with. Let us know a little bit about you. It's really important that we get to know each other during this conference. Also, you're going to see that some presenters will do Jamboards or Nearpods or polls or surveys. It's because we want to hear your voice. We want to get your perspective on what's good in teacher preparation, what's missing, and what we can make better. So anytime that there is a chance for your voice, please talk. We want your participation. We're going to take every single thing happening in the chat and make sure that we go ahead and capture it. I see that our next session is starting though. So let me go ahead and say, I hope everyone has a stellar Teach for LA. This is going to be an awesome week. Be here for as much as you can. Make it great. And if we can help you, we are here for you. So have a fantastic day, everyone. And we'll see you at the next session, okay? Take care, everyone.
Can you send us your email to follow you or send you a message?
Absolutely. I'll put my email in the chat right now and I'll make sure I include it on the emails I send out to everybody each day too, okay? Excellent. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great morning and we'll see you later today. I'm putting my email in the chat one more time too. If anybody needs it, please do not hesitate. I'm education@reneemarshall.com. Okay,
Renee,
with
thank
that,
you so much. I am sorry, I just got back, but I know I was hearing all of you guys. Thank you so much, everybody. I can stay if anybody else has any more questions or.
you know what you do? I think it's good if we log off because the next session started. So that way it'll give them a chance to go
Perfect.
to next.
Let me go check in. Okay.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Have a great day, everyone.